Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to episode 33 of Retro Buyer's Guide. I'm Mike, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of my favorite handheld consoles, the Game Boy Advance SP. But before we launch into it, I just want to say thank you so much to all the new subscribers. Sorry about missing last week and not making a video. I've been extremely busy with different projects for work and for pleasure. This is one of the newest things that I've done in my game room, thecoverproject.net. I've made boxes for all of my loose games. It's been a blast to do. It's very time consuming, but I think it looks really great on a shelf, and I'll definitely be making a video about that in the future. But until then, let's take a look at the Game Boy Advance SP. The Game Boy Advance was originally developed as Project Atlantis and released in June of 2001 in North America. But today we're going to talk about the Game Boy Advance SP, which was released in early 2003. Now, it's a form factor handheld, and just like the original Game Boy Advance, it will play Game Boy games, it will play Game Boy Color games, and it will play Game Boy Advance games. So that's pretty neat. And one of the biggest advantages to picking up an SP at the time over an original Game Boy Advance is that it also had a front-lit screen. And as you can see, without the light on, playing Game Boy Advance was pretty tough to do in a low-lit situation. So, for instance, if you wanted to play this in bed, it was pretty hard to do. But luckily, with the SP, you could just flip on a light, and there you go. Now, the backwards compatibility was probably one of the biggest draws to it. I'll throw in Metroid 2 here, Return to Samus. And when we turn it on, you can see you can play it in its original aspect ratio, or if you hit the left bumper, it will actually stretch the screen out to fill out the entire screen. And there we go. Honestly, it's a pretty good way to play old Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games because neither of those systems had lit screens unless you did some modding. So that's also pretty cool with the Game Boy Advance SP. But there's more. So coinciding with the release of the Game Boy Micro, Nintendo released another model of the Game Boy Advance SP, the AGS-101. Now this is the graphite colored one, and this is cobalt blue. And I'm about to show you the difference between the two screens. The AGS-101 actually has a backlit screen instead of a frontlit screen, and there's an option to make it even brighter. So let's turn both of these on at the same time, and let me show you what it looks like. So there you go, that's the AGS-001, here's the AGS-101. And right off the bat, you can tell there's a huge difference in the screen brightness. Hitting the button there again will cause it to get even brighter, sort of resembling like an LCD screen. And for reference, let's put a couple of games in just to show you how stark of a contrast it is between the two. So we'll put Metroid 2 in this one, and we'll put Wario Land 3 in the 101 here. We'll turn them both on. And let's go ahead and there you go. Stretch out the screen on that one. So yeah, there's a huge difference in the quality of the screen. So you definitely, as cool as, you know, finding these out in the wild are, and they're still pretty cheap when you come across them, I would say, you know, 20 to 30 bucks. What you really want is this. You want the 101. It's probably the best way to play Game Boy, Game Boy Color games, and Game Boy Advance games on the go. The screen is just gorgeous, and I really, really like playing my games on the 101. I'm going to put in Pokemon Fire Red version here and just show you a little bit. Let's go ahead and make that's almost too bright for the camera. There we go. So there you go. It's a huge difference, guys. These can be found on eBay for about $50 to $60, somewhere in that range. But I do think it's worth the money if you don't already have one of these. If you're into handheld gaming, again, I still think this is the best way to play Game Boy, Game Boy Color games, and Game Boy Advance games on the go. And even better, is you can play games on the go and then come home and put them in your Game Boy player for your GameCube and then continue them on your television screen. So I think that's the way to go if you're into playing handheld games. I definitely recommend getting the Game Boy Advance SP AGS-101. As of 2010, the Game Boy Advance, including the AGS-101, has sold 81.51 million units worldwide, which is pretty darn amazing. This is probably my favorite handheld gaming console ever released. I really enjoy it. I like it better than the Nintendo DS. You know, the DS is really cool. I enjoyed using the stylus for things. I feel like the 3DS is sort of gimmicky in the 3D, but this is just good old-fashioned handheld gaming at its finest. And the screen, I really can't say enough good things about it. It is gorgeous to look at, and it's fun to go back and play some of those old Game Boy games and Game Boy Color games with this nice, beautiful screen here. So definitely make sure if you're going to pick up an SP online that you get the AGS-101. So now let's take a look at some of my favorite Game Boy Advance games, and I'm just going to do a quick montage like I do in a lot of these videos and show you ones that I think are pretty fun to play and some of the prices. I hope you guys enjoy it.